All right, welcome back to the artist always known as Alejandro. Well, I couldn't let this one go since I drew Superman last week. I think it's only fitting that I draw one of my favorites, his cousin, the beautiful Kara Zor-el, or, as she's popularly known, Supergirl. Yeah. She was my first crush. I will admit that. I was a wee lad and a big fan of Superman, and then there's this beautiful blonde girl showing off her legs. But she was just so cute and like, oh, Supergirl, she's so cute and lovely. So she was my first crush. Not even a real person. Tells you how I was thinking back then, but I was a kid. What do you expect? So with this sketch, I'm going to draw her kind of in the opposite direction as Superman was. More, his back was towards the right of your screen. And now she's flipped the other way. Her back will be towards the left of your screen, and she's facing out this way. Flying in she's going to be flying in a similar position. I got to do a full body drawing of this. Once again, starting with these pencils in the pencil color, just mapping out my shapes. I have a little trouble. I really don't have I have a little bit of an idea. I didn't sketch it out. I'm just doing this here. Just trying to get the body shape figured out from all the things I've learned. See how well that's going. Hopefully you learned more too since you've been with me, or what to do, what not to do. It is very challenging to do these, even on pencil and paper. Women, your bodies are very challenging to draw. I'm telling you right now. I think I have it down, and then I just turn the body at a certain angle, like, hey, what's going on here? I want to make her look good. I'm not going to have her clench her fists. I want her hands out. Almost like she's kind of doing ballet in the sky, perhaps. Decided to zoom in here just to do a little playing around with some like little joints, making them like almost like action figure joints, little pieces there. Could be like marionette. I don't know if I'm going to keep that. Yeah, this one too. I don't like the hand to the side. I think it should be. Well, we'll try this. On her floating in space. Still trying to figure out the hand. As you know, this may not be permanent. Just fleshing out ideas of how I want her. Flying. I can't even recall my earliest memory of Supergirl. It might have been a comic book called Superman Family. Had a few stories featuring Superman, sometimes Lois Lane, Jimmy Olsen, and of course Supergirl. So it was a whole collection of stories featuring them. Now she had the red shorts. I'm sure many of you comic aficionados remember the shorts. And she had puffy sleeves, and her S was small, just over her heart or left bosom. And she had, her little red shorts. Those were so cute. And then her red boots, just kind of the same outfit. Her cape, everything was the same. I'm like, ooh. Now this time, I had Superman's leg in front extended, and then this one I want to have her front leg back. And then the back leg extended. So I'm trying this out here, but let's see. Mapping things out. If I recall back then, she wore a brown wig. Forgot her daytime identity. Wait, was it a Karen something? I don't know. She wore a brown wig and took it off to become Supergirl. That was her way of fooling people. maybe a little better than Clark's glasses, but you like this leg with his back leg. Let's see. I don't think. I'm just looking at it now. I'm not sure if this back leg. It looks. I don't know what it looks like. It just doesn't look right. A little racing, not liking that arm either. Well, as you can tell by the thumbnail on this video, this is not going to be the final image. I'm going to work this a few more times. That's what this process is, right? Figuring it out as we go. Yeah, there we go. Enough of that. I want it kind of tucked under. The good old foot tucked under where you don't see like the back of the leg. Even her head seemed a little too large. Kind of want her looking out. She's not going to be looking at us like Superman was. She's going to be looking out. She could be looking at Superman. These could be little bookend drawings. That's what I'm going for, maybe. She's admiring her cousin. All he's done. But don't sell yourself short, Kara. Don't do that. You're equally as powerful and way cuter. I don't think Superman could rock a skirt. Maybe. But I wanted to keep it with the skirt look. Because I really haven't drawn her in the puffy sleeves and shorts. I kind of like the skirt more. It doesn't seem practical in battle, but it looks cool. Just to redo her bosoms. I'm trying my method with the thing from the neckline. It seems a little strange on her. But I don't even think she was in any cartoons. She was never on the Super Friends as far as I know. Back then. We're talking 70s. Obviously she wasn't in the Christopher Reeve movie, but in the 80s she came out with her own movie with the beautiful Helen Slater playing her in a god-awful movie. But Helen looked the part. She was a good fit for Supergirl. Very pretty. With the costume all right, she had the skirt. But a god-awful movie. If you ever want to see it just to see it, but be warned. Cheesy plot, dialogue, her origin story is so silly. She really doesn't get the tester strength as probably she should, but what are you gonna do? And I think they were planning to do a movie featuring Superman and her together, but that never materialized. We never got to see her and Christopher Reeve together. Although we would later via AI CGI in The Flash. Well, let's not go there yet. But there was a Supergirl Mego action figure. I was so happy when they made her with her big puffy blonde hair, and she was in the outfit with the shorts. I was so bummed though. We moved from Michigan to New York and I lost her. Out of all my action figures, I had every single other one, but her, couldn't find her. I don't know what happened to her in the move. I was crushed. She was my faves. I had no more. And back then it was really hard to find action figures. You could only get them on the store. There was no such thing as eBay. Maybe a comic convention, but I didn't think about that back then. So now we're doing the green pencil. Now we're going to draw in some of the details. Eyes, nose. We're going to have clothing, lines. Just bringing it out. I don't know if this is a crazy method. It is very time consuming, I must say. If this was me on pencil to paper, I would just do pencil and then ink over it. Well, that's just me. Because I'm me and you're you. Maybe this works better. But in the digital world, I'm just bringing it to you. I had my tooth pulled. Yes, I just had my tooth pulled beginning of the week. This is the week of this recording. My back wisdom tooth. So I'm a quarter less wise. What? It had a cavity. And I was resisting it because I didn't want to lose a tooth. That's horrid. I've already lost 4. I had to get braces when I was 17. So they pulled out 2 teeth on the top and 2 teeth on the bottom because I had an overcrowded mouth. They needed to make room for the braces. So I'm still able to talk. I'm recovering, so I'm okay. So I'm playing around with the hair. Yes, this won't be the final version of the hair. Draw the ear, which I'm going to get rid of, but I just wanted that as a guide. So yeah, I think just kept this direction here because I didn't know which way I wanted the cape to flow. I kind of like the hair flowing back. Just a lot. A little nose line for those lips. Me, my lips, and the eyes. We got to work on that. Anybody know good videos on drawing faces and eyes and lips and nose in particular? That would be great. In relation to the chin, I try all sorts of things. I know Supergirl had her own comic book. I don't think I really ever read one. But then my heart was crushed. Spoiler alert. If you ever read Crisis on Infinite Earths, the very tumultuous maxi series from DC back in the 80s, well, Supergirl died. She was killed by the Anti-Monitor. He blasted a hole through her. And I read that comic book. I actually wept. I cried. This was Supergirl. This is my favorite. And they killed her off. And there was nothing Superman could do. He was getting his butt handed to him. She came in and saved him. But it wasn't enough. And the thing, Anti-Monitor, blasted her. And she died in his arms. Gotta adjust those lips. It was so sad. And he had to wrap her up and do a little funeral for her. The cover, of course, is devastating. You see Superman holding her limp body, crying, and everybody's behind him. So you know this wasn't a good issue. So that made me weep. Yeah, here I could already see having problems. I don't know. Anatomically, I was way off here. I just don't know what's going on. There's some good stuff going on here. There is a good base for what I'm trying to do here. You know, I think there's some proportions that I've got going on, but you ladies' shoulders are so hard to draw. Because when I think it looks too muscular or too big, and then I look at an actual human woman, the shoulders look okay for the distance they are. But when I draw them, it just seems like they're too big or too wide. I just don't know. In this hand. Yeah, we get through this hand. Just trying to map it out with just like some fingers and like, so I wanted the hand behind her. But the same problem I was running into Superman. Quickly looking at this like, oh boy. I have to figure some stuff out here. But anywho, yeah, it takes a few lines, even in the pencil phase. I just got to get a feel. But in this, in this pencil phase, I want it as close to what the final result is, as you see. So when I ink it, it's a lot less work. That's the whole point of this. I think I kind of know this is going to be a bit of a anatomical problem, so I'm just going to keep going. And this time I wanted to see the inside of her cape. Like with Superman's, I had the edges on both sides. This time I wanted to see the inside of her cape on her farther side. It's a little simple belt she's got. Lovely little skirt. It's playing around. I want the skirt direction and everything, but you know it's going to be a little different. Little idea. And then it's like the hair is like, something seems a little off with the hair. Actually, the head. I think her head felt too small at this point. Well, I guess I'll go back and I think I make it smaller, but have to deal. This is what we got so far. Come in and do the hair on this side. I do like drawing hair. Long flowing hair is so much fun. You just kind of just flick it and let it flow, make all these little extra lines. Little cape. One thing's for certain, in these pencil phases, I really like to get rid of the excess lines as I'm drawing more. It's just so distracting. I don't know if it's the same for you. But here I drew with the S in the middle, as she has done recently. Well, recently. Well, I think they brought, no, see, I don't really know. I think they brought Supergirl back with, like, she was this, like, fire angel thing. I don't remember. Was she there when Superman died? I don't remember that. It's kind of in a different phase. You know, that was when Image came out, and it was kind of into that stuff. That was all over the place. More into Marvel. Oh, I got rid of the pencil line underneath. So you could see what she's looking like here. And I say, okay, I have to move some stuff around anatomically. This is not working out here. Well, I can see that her upper body and lower body are way too far apart. It looks too weird. So I'm going to move it up a little bit. Adjust it a little bit. Maybe shorten it, angle it a little more. I think this gets me in trouble later on. That's a good tool, the lasso tool, though. You can do a lot. It's just got to remember, whatever you lasso is going to move. So if you have lines that you don't want to go along with what you've done, be wary. I don't have much of a little curve in her body, like her badonkadonk sticking out. She's kind of using the full length of her body. It's not like she's leaning forward and her butt is sticking out. She's kind of all full length facing out to the world. I'm going to do my lines there for that midriff area, or midriff. Okay, so in this little, you can see I've done some things. Yeah, I've done her cape in a different way. I moved her hair in a different direction. I fixed her arms. Yeah, I wanted the hair flowing off her left side. So if the wind is coming from that direction, we want the cape flowing in that direction. Because it wouldn't make sense for her hair to be flowing off her right if everything's pushing towards the left. And so I think I got everything I want. I just had to adjust that, make the hair flow, fixed her face a little bit. So we're going to make the opacity lower because it's time to ink. And I have my ink layer colored in a blue, so I know that's the layer, and I labeled it so. Back to the good old G pen, drawing at 4, brush size is 4, same as my other settings. Gave her a pretty strong chin. What? But I did. Trying to think where Supergirl popped up for me in media. She was in Justice League Unlimited. That was cool to have her in that. With the little white shirt. That little white t-shirt outfit. And her little headband. But they did a great portrayal of her. It was good to have her in the roster. And one of the best cartoons DC ever made. Having all those superheroes together and adding her to the mix was awesome. Fix these eyes a little bit. Now, there was a Superman Batman comic book. And they did a new origin of her, crash landing in Gotham City. And Batman and Supes discovering her. She doesn't speak any English, so of course Batman's suspicious, but Clark immediately wants to help her and make her learn the ways of Earth, be moral, give her a bit of a moral compass, treat her as family, because that's who she is. But Batman still ain't buying it. And I am buying these eyes, as you can see. I take away that layer just so I could maybe draw freely without the other layer influencing me. But bear with me. If you, like I said, if you have a better way of doing eyes, do it. Notice these eyes are not matching up here, as always. And that Superman Batman comic was written by awesome Jeff Loeb and illustrated by the late great Michael Turner. He did a wonderful job. Rest in peace, man. Gone way too soon. I admired your art very much. This was made into a DC animated series called Superman Batman Apocalypse. And they did an homage to Michael Turner's style in that. Very cool story. Even Darkseid gets involved and abducts her, makes her one of his cronies. Yeesh. She turns on Superman. Wonder Woman even gets involved and tries to bring her to Paradise Island to teach her there. So yeah, my pencil layer's back to just kind of guide me better. So that was the whole point of that layer, was to say, okay, I just need to trace over this and I'm going to get my ink layer the way I want it. Well, then later on in the late 2000s, we got an awesome live-action TV series with Supergirl. I'm like, who is this? I'm not sure how her last name is pronounced, but Melissa Benoist, or if you want to do it phonetically, Benoist, but I think it's Benoist, was a good choice. She embodied the charm, the youth, kind of the enthusiasm to jump into this role, and a little bit of the naivete. And she wanted to honor the family legacy, because Superman did exist. But we don't see him till later. They did a lot of Superman stories through her. I think they did a Bizarro, Supergirl, and for the Man Who Has Everything storyline, but they did it with her. That was kind of strange. She had a great costume. Had the skirt, had the S in the middle with a little variation. A little more blue, but had the yellow lines, a darker blue. Her sleeves wrapped around her thumbs. Her boots were knee-high. Like, I don't want to do the knee-high thing. It just doesn't work for me. But she pulled it off. She was great in that role. Ran for a few seasons. I kind of stopped. At one point, she got pants. Which was alright. I kind of missed the skirt, though, you know. But they did have a Crisis on Infinite Earths with her. And the others, kind of missed opportunity there. They do a Crisis on Infinite Earths animated series of movies. Ugh. It was a bit of a mess. Because they did her death, but it just felt forced, like you didn't have the same investment as you did in the comic. Sorry. Well, that's just my opinion. We did get another big screen version of Supergirl in the Flash, as I was talking about earlier. And you saw, there was a part in the movie where Flash was going through some different universes, and they had one with AI-generated Christopher Reeve and Helen Slater together. But in the movie, they had Sasha, I don't know if it's Calais or Kaye, play Kara with dark hair. She looked more like Kal-El with the dark, short hair. She had a full body suit with the S on it. She was good. I felt really bad that her character was underused and, I mean, ultimately dies. I'm like, oh man, what a waste. I don't like to see her die. She did a good job. It's a very different version, but the way they had her in the movie instead of Superman, this is a nice way to have someone with superpowers in that same vein. But I always wonder what could have been. Now that the DCU is up and running, they have a different Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow movie coming out with a different actress. Aww. Selah. Yeah, racing some lines, of course. It's kind of going wide. Am I gonna looking at things? Oh, let me draw a belt. Going that way. It's good the belt kind of goes with her hip line, so it's a very good guide. You can just make it overlap. There you go. She doesn't have the buckles. She just has that. Actually, when she was in Crisis on Infinite Earth, she had a headband. And her boots had... Yeah, I think they had yellow on them. And she had an S across her chest, but it was like attached to the cape. So many different looks. In the Michael Turner one, she had her midriff showing. So she still had everything, but she had the midriff showing, and she had a skirt, but a different belt. Gotta show off the midriff, huh? I guess. I'm drawing the hair. I put her hair on a different layer. Same as I did with Superman. Just makes it easier to move around stuff if things go awry. And as you can see, this kind of sticks, but I kind of have to do something else. It's so spastic. Zoom in a little bit. You know, with the hair, you know, you have the wind blowing it. You could do a lot more. I just like it kind of popping out. Man, doing it digitally, it doesn't seem to flow as good as in pencil. But obviously, if there's jagged lines, I could always straighten them out, which I would do off screen, which I think I'm going to do now after we take out the pencil layer and see her with her ink lines. Because next up, it's the details. So I have my separate details line. I'm going to have a separate details for her hair. Well, let's move into her eyelashes. These are always fun to draw, but I always seem to have to draw them more than once. Just darkening in the bottom there. Yeah. These are going to be more out from there. So I don't think I've drawn someone from looking in this direction when the eyes are going to be a little different in shape. I still want her smiling. She's Supergirl. Little neck muscles. I think I made them a little too pronounced here. I want to make them a little softer, not as jagged. Maybe little lines would be better. There we go. You don't have to be as striking. Of course, my little cape lines. Always fun to draw. And then I draw the ones hanging on the shoulder, just that little sheen. And then you'll have a favorite Supergirl outfit. I like this look. I think in the new movie, if I see pictures correctly, the new one's going to have this look, but maybe I think she's going to be showing off the midriff. I'm not sure. We shall see. Be great if she could team up with Superman this time. Nice to see them on big screen together. Just little details. You don't have to do a lot with women, remember. You could. It's not necessary. And this is just my style. If you want to add more details, go right ahead. I just didn't want to do too much. Less is more, in my opinion, for drawing your super female heroes or villains. But these lines are like always a must. Just it's that little heroic pedigree. Fit, they can handle it. Lines there in the belt. Always like to add that. And their skirt, because that's where the leg would be, and you just have to kind of mimic that. Kind of just where her pelvis would be, and just some lines coming off the skirt. This one takes a while to kind of figure out. My hip and leg lines, and then we gotta have the flow of the skirt coming out. Kind of the wrinkle there when it's going between legs. There's going to be this kind of caving in a little bit. Played around with this. This is, I have to make darker lines here. I'm going to do some cross hatching even here. I tried this first, but it's not happening. Granted, I don't have to do this. The shading, the airbrushing part could take care of this, but I want to draw it in here. The lines here in the ribs, which actually I'm going to change this later on. Going to give her a little knee joint. There we go, little knee muscles. Just a hint, so you know they're there, because she's bending them. There's going to be something showing. Erase some of these lines. Don't need that. Yeah, I'll do some shading under here. A little cross hatching. It's funny when you do it digitally, it just looks so weird. Because you can go over the lines, and going over the lines is so foreign to me. If I was doing this in pencil, I'd concentrate and getting it just right on there. It's working. Just a little toe shade or something. I don't know. I'll just leave it, I guess. Add some lines to her cape, of course. It's kind of got me like going that way. It wasn't working. I think I have to start up. That works better for me. Yeah. But I always like to kind of flow from the top. Just a little, just enough. And there's some there too. Well, as of this recording, I haven't seen the new Superman movie, but I'm planning to see it very, very soon. Hopefully it lives up to it. I got a comment on the Superman video to draw crypto. Maybe I will. I have never drawn the dog before. It'd be kind of an interesting challenge and maybe a little bit of a relief. After drawing these complex human beings. These things take so long. Well, you know, I get through some parts and then as you can see it, some things change and it just doesn't look right. Even when I color, it's like, uh-oh, I have to change stuff after I color. I try not to do that, but I will run into this problem with this video. This drawing, this illustration. For a little ankle. Took me a few times to get that ankle the way I wanted. That's the way it is. Do it till it can't be done. My friend's motto. Just add little details. That's good. And then my little toe shade. I think we're all right. Looking snazzy. These cape lines, this is where I get a little... I didn't like the way they flew. Flew? I didn't like the way they flew. I didn't like the way they flowed. And a few more lines there. I think if I put it at this angle, it just gives me a little more of a guy. There you go. See, it's going to drape down lower because her leg is raised and the one's behind it. So there's a few little inches between that. So we need to see the skirt flowing down there. See how cool that is. The inside of this cape. Play around with this a few times because I wanted something to happen. There has to be some kind of flow, but it can't be the way I've been doing it. So it took me a few tries here. I'm like looking at this like, no, this ain't working. Nip. Keep trying. I know, I did a lot of stuff I'm just not going to use. You do it and then you take a step back. It's like, no. I can already see this is going to be a problem. Maybe a little more control over it, but then again, no. You know. Nope. Erase it. Start from scratch. I'm leaving this here because it gives you just a better idea of what we have to go through to achieve the final result you want. Sometimes it's trial and error until you see, okay, I've done this way. Let me try it this way and see if it works better. Maybe draw it lighter. I figured it'd have to be thicker lines because it's the inside of her cape. should be darker. But light lines work just as well. And of course, I could always thicken everything, which I do. Erase those lines I don't like. Yeah, let's just redraw them. Okay. Just doing a little inspection. Make sure nothing is bleeding over. I know these ones that have a bend in them, they drive me bonkers. Add a little bit to the skirt. Much better. This is what I fell on. Now the hard part, the inside of the cape near her armpit. It's going to be dark there, so I have to do a lot of lines across. And it's different here. You know, if I was doing pen, I could just... Or even like I said, pen, real pen. But pencil, I would just be drawing it hard, and it would just be dark. There wouldn't be lines. It would just be this one solid pencil shade, and that would be it. Here in the digital world, yeah, I could use some other tools, but they're so hard to keep in the lines. At least the vector lets you get rid of that stuff. I think I play around and I'm going to do some cross hatching. Just figure out what angle I want to go at. Is it that way? I think that's what I want to do, because then it'll flow into her cape. So I'm on the right track. I just have to figure out how I want to do this. That's good. Now I need something to flow into this. There we go. So something that's just a little more of an angle. Gotta do it again, though. It's so hard adjusting this. I'm just telling you the challenges I face. If you face them too, good. We're in this together. It's not going to be easy. Sometimes the pros take them hours to do one page. It could be a whole day to create one page of comic book art. Well, more specifically, lines. It's their line art that's taking so long. Because their line art is everything. And then the artist that's doing the first line art may not be the one who's inking it. Someone else takes it over most of the time. They'll do the inking while someone does the pencils. That's how it usually is. I would love to hand that duty over to someone else. And the same with coloring. Someone else does it. But for these purposes, I'm going to do it myself. Now here I have the hair details are going to be in their own separate layer too. So I have it right above the layer of the hair. And now all these little hair details. I'm showing you these. I know the final sketch, the hair is very different. But I just wanted to show you these too. So you could just see what I put these little hair detail lines on a separate layer. And this is just the way I do it. Keeping it simple. If you want to do it a semi-simple, semi-advanced drawing, that's what I'm about. Maybe I'll get a little more advanced in my future drawings, but for now, I believe anybody could follow this and have a good time learning this. That's what I believe. If I can do this, you can do this. Sometimes the lines will come back. Yeah, it's just fun to draw. Do the hairlines. It's fun. I have to fix this though. Good old simplify vector line tool. This should be a little more rounded, not this. There we go. I want a little more roundness. Beautiful. I mean, not all hair is going to be rounded, but I want it to look rounded-ish. There we go, for my purposes. And coming from the point. And I'm upside down, so... But not for long.
Just finding those right hair movements. Not too much, but just enough to give it flow. Yeah, see, a little flow there. If I'm not satisfied with one, just erase it and move on. Yeah, not too bad. I keep most of this when I fix it. Little extra lines, just that little extra thing. Ugh. All right, go wide. What are we doing? I want to fix something here. Oh, our eyes. See, when you step back, you notice things like, maybe this eye's a little too big, this eye's a little too small. Let's draw in her irises.
Now it's time to color. Yep, I'm actually going to color again for you. Have to. I mean, this is my girl. This is Supergirl. So I made a separate layer for her S and a separate layer for her hair, of course. And as always, I'm getting rid of the details. Makes it a lot easier to fill in what I'm going to do. And I'm going to cheat a little bit here. But I'm bringing up my Superman sketch, my illustration. So I'm going to just copy his skin tone and the colors of his uniform to do the same for her face. See, it's just going to make it a lot easier. And of course, I'm going in layers. So I'm going to start with the top layer. I usually start with her face and the hand. Also trying to think, what else would be a good top layer here? The boot. I'll do the cape on that side first. Probably a boot. Yeah, let's do the boot. And I think I'm going to do... Trying to figure out... Well, the S is on its own layer. Okay, I guess I'm doing the S. I'm going to wait. All right, moving to the next layer. We're at her neck. Fill in those fingers. Now we're moving on to the layer for just her S. There we go. The thing just being aware. I just figured I'd put it on that layer, it'd be better. I'm going to color her lips on this layer. Nice pinkish hue. Close to the skin tone. Her eyes, I'm going to give her eyes a nice blue, very light blue color. Now the next layer. Go back to soup. What am I going to borrow this time? The yellow. Do her belt. Might as well do the yellow in her S on her chest. Could zoom in. All right. I can't do any other things. Maybe her. Let's see. Maybe do her hand. Let's see where I'm at. There we go. Yeah, I'm gonna take that and put the hand on that layer. Okay. I make a bit of a mistake here. I put the black in her eyes on the same layer as the blue. I'll fix this later on, but this did bite me. We're doing the blue on this layer. There we go. And what else? Is that it for this layer? Now I go take the paper layer off so I can see the whites as I did before. It just helps me see the whites of her eyes. You can see the pixels, so anything that has pixels you got to fill in. And back to paper so everything is okay. borrow that and do that part of her cape. And that's it, because I got to leave that open. It's another layer. I soon realize I'm going to need some more layers here, so let's add them in there. Color them so I know what things are. I probably could label them too, but so that would be the next logical layer, or skirt, but I really can't do anything else, but I'll do these parts of her fingers. They're far enough away. Next layer is going to probably be the leg. The leg, right? Yes. That's its own layer, and that's its own layer. And the final layer will be her boot, and go down a little darker for the inside of the cape. There we go. I just got to do her hair, which is on its own special layer. Like a dirty blonde look, and that's it. Well, it's pretty satisfactory up to this point. Let me add the details back, so now we can see what it looks like with the details. Pretty good. Although I run into some issues in between clips here that I fix. Alright, I darkened her, and now we're going to the shading phase. I've changed her hair. I didn't like the way it was flowing. It just had this... It didn't work with the way her hair was flowing over to her left side, so I had to fix her bangs. Did them up, and so I already started shading them. I had to fix them, so I was not in the mood to draw, to video record this. I'm just adding now a little bit of bright to the top of her head. I think the sun will be coming off her right side. So yeah, brightening it up a little bit. Doing that clip to layer below, so that's... it won't spill over into anything else. Alright, now we're into the face. We're going to add just a little bit of shade, a little darkness, see, to the side of her face. It's just a little too dark, but a little bit there. Well, unfortunately, I realize I'm not on the clip to layer below. I'm bleeding over, so this happens. I gotta pay attention. That's why I don't color the clip to layer below, so you can see to the right. But I am on the same layer as the Clip Studio Paint. As the fill-in layer. I go on for a while here before I realize, wait a second. So don't do this to yourself, artiste. Just kind of check and pause and go back. Like, uh-oh, yep, I realize I'm on that layer. Like, oh man, I have to undo everything I just did. So let's undo it. We're undoing a few things, and now I could start from scratch the right way. Oy. Que horror. Just a little bit around her eye, her brow there. Just accentuating a little bit of that. Nose and her chin. Not too much. She doesn't require much here. And I'm using my blending. I'm making it a little more accented, but I'm going to use my blending tool a little bit. There we go. I'm going to fill in. I'm going to shade in this first. Go a little darker under here. The hair's covering it up. So, a little bit. Accent that stuff. There we go. Time for the blending tool. Just kind of soften it a little bit. No reason to... If you pull away, you're going to drag some of that color in. If you pull in, you're going to use more of the skin color. But if you pull out from the shade, you're going to kind of extend that a little bit, but it blends better. Little tip I've learned as I've done this. Do a little bit of shade on the skin there, not too much. Really doesn't require too much. I think, yeah, I got a Supergirl plush doll. She's in the box still, but I do have a Supergirl action figure from the Crisis in Infinite Earths variant, staring right at me. Her arm keeps falling off, or is it her leg? I don't know. It's an old one. All right. I always check to make sure I'm on the right one. Here I go once again. I did not realize. What did I do? Yep. I'm on the same layer as my fill-in. Like, oh man. There we go. Good fix. There you go. Accentuate those. That's what I like to do with these. This is just the way I roll. I mean, I know there's more complex ways of doing your shading and stuff like that, but for my videos, this is good enough. You know, it helps if you want to follow along and do the same thing. Just simple illustrations. I mean, to me, it's simple. When I look at some of the master artists that are out there, what they could do with layers and colors and light, the shading they do, it blows my mind. For me, you know, I have something that's pretty decent and trying to make it easy for you to follow along with and try at home. Just accenting these colors. You know, a lot of this is imagination, but you know, you see where the body falls and the leg lines up and where body parts would be and just possible areas that would be shaded. Granted, I didn't need those lines. I could have just done the shading, but I'd like to put the lines in. It's just my thing. Let's see. Yeah. Do that, and I'm probably going to blend it. Just adding just a little more accentuation in some of these areas where you think there'd be a little more shade. Let's move on to Das Boot. Make it, there we go, a little darker here. And I like to have the brush bigger sometimes for those areas because I could always go outside the lines. And then when I want finer details, I'll shrink the brush down. And her boot. Her bottom boot there. Let's make it bigger. There we go. Might even make it a little darker. That's it. Looks very light. So I'm trying to get all the reds out of the way. Get her cape. Something strange happens. First of all, it's hard to see. It's like how much deeper of a red do I need to go? Usually you have to go down a few. What would you say? Like a few clicks down, a few meters. It's so spastic. And now her ass. Not much going on with the ass. I just kind of accentuate where her bosom would be extending to. That's it, really. There you go. I got a little bit of a bosom line. See it? And that'll carry over into the yellow. Let me see. Supergirl's, I'm not making her big, busted. I don't need for that. So now, yeah, I'm going to do the yellow in the S. Got to go back to that layer. Trying it from a distance, but I soon realized I got to zoom in here, baby. There we go. Connect. Here we go. Looks good. Just add a little bit of shading on the S. Those little notches. And now I'm going to do her belt since I'm in this mode. I have to find out where my belt layer is. Let's see. It's funny, it doesn't seem, is it dark enough? It wouldn't be too dark. Just enough to accentuate those lines. From a distance, you can tell it's there though. Now the blue. I had some issues. The blue is starting to look gray. See that? Well, first and foremost, yeah, I found myself on that wrong layer. It just seemed a little strange. It just seemed more of a gray than a blue. Few trials and errors. There's not much darkness on this side. But I'm having trouble trying to figure it out here. Just doing the little accents. Like, am I on the right layer? Move it over there. It looks a little better, but it's still looking like gray or purple instead of blue. Maybe it's the way her blue. Well, I soon realized something. I must have accidentally hit a key or something on my keyboard because all the fill-ins after her face were at 80% opacity. I don't show you this on the video because I was upset. Because I added the background and then I saw everything was... You could see through her body at the background. Like, oh no. So all I had to do is just go back in and refill them until it filled in those spaces with the opacity back at 100%. But it was just so time consuming. So be aware, check your opacity in the fill-in tool. If it's not 100%, fix it before you start filling in or else you'll run into this problem. I didn't want to put it on the video because it upset me and this is supposed to be a happy place. But I'm just letting you know that this can happen. This is why some of the shading looked really strange to me. And you look at like the red on her skirt and her cape, they're not as vibrant as the ones up there. It's because of this opacity issue. But it was fixed. Still just got to shade in all this. Finding that right level there. Just enough. Got to zoom in, dude. There we go. Okay, would be covering up that. A little bit there. Maybe a little darker. Yeah, there we go. The cape's right over her leg. Shrink it down for the knee joints, the muscles. A little bit of a hint on the skirt. Just a little bit accentuating that. We are blending. The next layer for that, go back to the airbrush. Fill in some of that shaded area. The knee. Do that. That's really it. Accentuate those muscles. She's Supergirl. She's super strong. There you go. You can do a little bit more. Don't need to do a lot, just a little bit more. Anything else? I have to find where everything is, right? That's this layer with the red. A darker shade of this. This proved a little tricksome. Like it wasn't looking right. It was looking blue, which seems really strange to me. I don't know why. See? I don't know if it was the opacity thing. I made it a little redder. But it was like this, I want it to be darker, man. It's got to be darker. It's the inside of her cape. Try that one. Yeah, see, it's looking blue, which is, I don't understand it. What it thought it would look. Red, so I just kind of play with it. Filling all those spots. Make this even darker from that part of the cape. There we go. Should be dark. I guess the same for this area under her armpits. And the inside of the cape there, that should be dark. Closer to her body would be a little darker. Yeah, there's the armpit area. Not really armpit. And scaling back. Okay, so now I'm basically done. I added the background. I fixed all those problems. So this is the background I did. A little different than Superman's, but close. So just kind of varying. I actually took some of Superman's background and put it in there and did this. So there she is. Supergirl is done. It's a bit of a struggle, my friends, but we got there. So here she is in all her glory, Supergirl. One of my faves I did for you guys in color. So thanks for joining me on this journey. It's been a journey, but I appreciate you. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video with the artist always known as Alejandro. Until then, keep creating.